November 26, 1943. A muddy field in England designated Royal Air Force Station Boxted. The air bites with the damp chill of late autumn, thick with the scent of high-octane fuel and wet earth. A low, guttural rumble vibrates through the soles of your boots as dozens of Allison and Merlin engines cough to life, spitting blue smoke into the gray morning. This is the sound of the 8th Air Force waking up. This is the sound of war. For Second Lieutenant James Callahan, fresh from the wide-open skies of Texas, the sound is a drumbeat of pure, undiluted terror. He stands beside his aircraft, a North American P-51A Mustang, serial number 436178. To a civilian, it's a marvel of engineering. To the veteran pilots of the 354th Fighter Group, the Pioneer Mustangs, it is a joke, a bad one. "Don't scratch the paint, Jimmy," Captain Sullivan grins, his face a leathered map of 100 missions. He claps Callahan on the shoulder, a gesture that feels less like encouragement and more like a final farewell. "That thing's got more rattles than a crib full of babies." The other pilots laugh, a raw, knowing sound. They're climbing into their own Mustangs, the newer B models, their streamlined fuselages housing the legendary Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. Those are the thoroughbreds. Callahan's P-51A, with its Allison V1710 engine, is a stubborn mule. It was designed for low-altitude combat, but here, in the European theater of operations, their job is to escort B-17 flying fortresses into the heart of Germany. Up there, in the thin, freezing air above 20,000 feet, the Allison engine gasps for breath. It loses power, its performance drops off a cliff, and the entire airframe develops a gut-wrenching vibration that pilots swear can shake the fillings from your teeth. "That plane is a flying coffin," another pilot mutters, just loud enough for Callahan to hear. "You're dead before you take off." They call it the Deathtrap, and today Callahan's its designated pilot. He pulls on his helmet, the worn leather cool against his skin, and tries to ignore the churning in his stomach. He's the rookie, the new guy, the lowest man on the totem pole. He gets the leftover machine. He watches as his squadron commander, Major George Bickle, strides over. The major's eyes are tired but sharp, missing nothing. He looks at Callahan, then at the P-51A, and his expression is unreadable. "Callahan," Bickle says, his voice flat over the engine noise, "you're tail-end Charlie today. Your job is simple. Stay with the group, stay in the back, watch our 6, and try not to die. Clear?" "Yes, sir," Callahan manages, his own voice sounding impossibly young. Climbing into the cockpit is like strapping himself into a machine built from his own anxiety. The cockpit is cramped, the smell of oil and hydraulic fluid overpowering. He runs through his pre-flight check, his gloved fingers moving with a precision that belies the frantic hammering of his heart. The engine turns over with a protesting cough before settling into its rough, uneven idle. Through the plexiglass canopy, the world becomes a distorted, vibrating picture. He can feel the plane's notorious shudder even on the ground. The signal comes. One by one, the sleek Merlin-powered Mustangs roar down the pierced steel planking of the runway and climb gracefully into the overcast sky. Then it's his turn. He pushes the throttle forward. The Allison engine doesn't roar, it bellows. The entire aircraft shakes violently as it gathers speed, a wild animal fighting the leash. He pulls back on the stick, and the Deathtrap lurches into the air, clumsy and heavy. He forms up on the squadron, taking his assigned position at the very rear of the formation, the Weaver who is supposed to guard against attack from behind. They climb through the thick blanket of English clouds, and for a moment they are suspended in a world of pure white, a disorienting, featureless void. Then they break through. The sun is a blinding, magnificent explosion of light. The sky above is a deep, endless, crystalline blue. Below them, the clouds are a vast, rolling ocean of white, and around him, the silver shapes of the 354th glint in the sun, a constellation of deadly beauty. For a fleeting second, the fear is gone, replaced by awe. This is why he joined. For this. They're climbing past 18,000 feet now. The bomber stream, their charges, are lumbering silver whales far ahead. Callahan's hands are slick inside his gloves. The vibration is getting worse. It's no longer a simple rattle. It's a deep, bone-jarring thrum that makes the instruments on his panel blur. The controls feel sluggish, wrestling against him. He fights to keep his position, his eyes scanning the sky, his head on a constant swivel. He's so focused on not falling behind, on simply controlling his temperamental machine, that he doesn't notice the glare from the sun is playing tricks on him. The squadron banks gently to the right, adjusting course for the rendezvous. The lead planes disappear for a second behind the blinding solar disk. When he looked again, they are gone. There is only the blue, the vast, silent, terrifyingly empty blue. His radio crackles with static. He calls out,
No response. A note of ice forms in his gut. He's a rookie, alone, in a faulty aircraft, 20,000 feet over enemy territory. He's a sheep who has lost his flock. And down below, in the shadows of the clouds, the wolves are watching.
Panic is a physical thing. It's a cold hand gripping your throat, a frantic buzzing behind your eyes. Second Lieutenant James Callahan fights it down, forcing air into his lungs. He banks the P-51A, its frame groaning in protest, and completes a slow 360-degree turn. Nothing. Just the endless, indifferent expanse of the upper atmosphere and the sea of clouds below. The sun, which moments before had been a symbol of awe, is now a malevolent eye, a blinding spotlight exposing him. His radio is a hiss of useless static. He switches frequencies, his thumb clumsy on the dial. Mayday, Mayday, this is Acorn 4, separated from flight group. Repeat, separated from group. Over. Silence is his only answer. The vibration from the Allison engine feels like the plane is trying to tear itself apart, a constant, unnerving reminder of his machine's fragility. He is a single, flawed screw in a vast, hostile machine. He throttles back slightly, trying to conserve fuel, trying to think. Should he turn back? Breaking radio silence has already announced his presence to any German listening stations. Turning back alone is a death sentence. His best chance is to push on toward the rendezvous point with the bombers, hoping to catch up with his squadron. He sets his course, his eyes scanning every quadrant of the sky with a desperate intensity. And then he sees them. At first they are just specks, tiny black flies against the brilliant blue canvas, far off to his 10 o'clock high. A surge of relief washes over him. It's them! It has to be them! He pushes the throttle forward again, the Allison grumbling as he urges the plane into a shallow climb to meet them. He raises his hand to shield his eyes from the sun, trying to make out their shapes. But the shapes are wrong. The wings are too angular, the noses too sharp. They aren't the familiar, reassuring forms of Mustangs. They are lean, predatory, like sharks cutting through the water. BF-109s. The relief curdles into ice water in his veins. Not one, not two. He counts them as they grow larger, resolving from specks into distinct aircraft. 4, 8, 12. Then two more, higher still, acting as top cover. 14. 14 Messerschmitt's BF-109Gs, the workhorse of the Luftwaffe. And at this altitude, their Daimler-Benz engines made them kings. He is looking at an entire Gruppe, a Wolfpack hunting in its element. Far below, in the lead Messerschmitt, Hauptmann Victor Long watches the lone American fighter through his gun sight. Long is an experte, an ace with 78 aerial victories painted as small white bars on his rudder. His Knight's Cross hangs at his throat. He is a patient, methodical killer. He watches the P-51A, an older model he recognizes instantly, and a rare smile touches his thin lips. This is not a challenge. This is a gift, a training exercise for the younger pilots in his farm. All Falcons, this is Condor 1. His voice crackles over the German radio net, calm and precise. Target is a lone Mustang, low-performance model. First Schwarm, you will engage from above. Second Schwarm, from the sides. Eric, Klaus, you will cut off his escape below. Let us give the American a lesson in German geometry. Engage. For Callahan, the geometry is one of impending death. The sky, once empty, is now swarming with enemies. The Wolfpack breaks apart with terrifying synchronized perfection. 4 109s peel off from the top of the formation, sunlight glinting off their canopies as they roll into a steep dive. 4 more fan out to his left and right, boxing him in. They are creating a kill box, and he is the only thing in it. The radio in his ears suddenly comes alive, but it's not the sound of friendly voices. It's the high-pitched, alien chatter of the German pilots, confident and businesslike. He doesn't understand the words, but he understands the tone, the casual professionalism of butchers going to work. His training screams at him, "Bail out. You are outnumbered 14-1. Your aircraft is outclassed. Survival is paramount. Bail out now." His hand moves instinctively toward the canopy release handle. His fingers brush against the cold metal. He can already feel the blast of freezing air, the violent tumble, the snap of the parachute opening. It is the logical choice, the only choice. Then the first tracers rip past his cockpit, bright, angry streaks of yellow and white light, so close he can hear the sharp crackle as they slice through the air. They are followed by the deeper, heavier thud of 20mm cannon shells. Something slams into his right wing, and the entire plane lurches violently. A hole the size of a fist has appeared in the metal skin. He should be terrified, and he is, but something else is rising with the fear. A hot, defiant anger. The mockery of the pilots back at Boxted, the commander's dismissal, the Deathtrap They were all sending him up here to die. These Germans, they were just here to finish the job. He looks at the vibrating stick in his hand, at the shuddering dashboard. He feels the plane's instability, the flaw that was supposed to kill him, and in a moment of crazed, desperate clarity, an idea sparks. A suicidal, impossible idea. What if the flaw wasn't a weakness? What if it was a weapon? His hand drops from the canopy release. His knuckles turn white as he grips the throttle. The German pilots are closing in, their sights aligned for the final killing blow. They expect him to die, to run, to surrender to the inevitable. Instead, Second Lieutenant James Callahan slams the throttle to the firewall and does the unthinkable. He turns to face the wolves.
The Allison engine screams, not with power, but with raw, mechanical agony. The entire P-51A airframe vibrates with such intensity that Callahan feels it in his teeth, his spine, his skull. The needles on his instrument panel dance a frantic, blurry jig. He is pushing the Deathtrap far beyond its breaking point, into a realm of physics its designers never intended. The lead German pilot, a young Lieutenant confident of his kill, watches the Mustang swell in his gun sight. He expects a panicked dive, a sloppy, desperate turn. He tightens his finger on the trigger. Callahan doesn't turn. He kicks the left rudder pedal hard. It's a move of pure, unadulterated madness, a textbook-defying maneuver that should, by all rights, send the unstable P-51A into an unrecoverable flat spin. In a finely tuned Merlin Mustang or a stable BF-109, the plane would resist, but the Deathtrap obeys. The plane's nose doesn't swing gracefully. It snaps, lurches, and skids sideways through the air with a violent, shuddering jolt. It's less of a turn and more of a horizontal convulsion. The German lieutenant is utterly unprepared. His stream of cannon fire, aimed perfectly a split second before, slices through empty air where the Mustang used to be. The P-51A is suddenly not in his sights. It's off to the side, seemingly having teleported 10 yards to the left. The 109, locked into its high-speed dive, rockets past, unable to adjust to such an erratic, illogical change in direction. Callahan feels a surge of adrenaline so potent it's like electricity. It worked. The plane's violent instability, its tendency to wobble and shudder under stress, had just become the most effective defensive maneuver he could imagine. The Germans were trained to fight pilots flying by the book, predicting arcs, lead times, and G-forces. He wasn't flying by the book. He was flying a seizure. Another pair of 109s closes in from his right. This time he anticipates the attack. Instead of the rudder kick, he drops his right wing and slams the stick forward, entering a nauseating side slip. The Mustang falls like a thrown knife, not diving but sliding down the air, presenting the thinnest possible target. Again, hundreds of rounds of ammunition stitch the empty sky. The Germans overshoot, their speed carrying them past him. From his vantage point above, Hauptmann Victor Long watches with a frown. This is not the panicked flight of a rookie. This is chaos. The American isn't flying his plane. He is wrestling it. The movements are jerky, ugly, and utterly unpredictable. Long's pilots, accustomed to the elegant, deadly ballet of aerial combat, can't get a firing solution. He isn't dancing. He's thrashing. Condor Flight, tighten the circle. Long's voice cuts through the radio, sharper now, tinged with annoyance. He is one pilot. Do not let him breathe. Box him in. Use converging fire. The wolves regroup. The initial shock is wearing off, replaced by the cold fury of professional hunters whose prey is refusing to die quietly. They form a wide, circling perimeter around Callahan, a whirlpool of death designed to draw him into the center. No matter which way he turns, a German fighter will be there, waiting. Callahan can see them, a ring of crosses in the sky. He is out of options. Dodging and slipping won't work forever. They will eventually get lucky. He is burning fuel at an alarming rate, and the stress on his airframe is immense. He can hear the metal groaning, popping, and creaking around him. He glances at his ammunition counter. He hasn't fired a single shot. His guns are still cold. He has been so focused on surviving the last 60 seconds that the thought of fighting back hadn't even been possible. He sees two 109s begin their attack runs simultaneously,
one from 10 o'clock, the other from 2. It's a classic pincer movement. If he breaks left, the one on the right gets him. If he breaks right, the one on the left gets him. If he dives, the pilots below will be waiting. It's the perfect trap. Checkmate. The German pilots are confident, their movements precise. They're closing the jaws of the trap. Callahan takes a deep breath, the air thin and icy in his lungs. He doesn't break left. He doesn't break right. He keeps his nose pointed directly forward, flying straight down the middle, on a collision course with 2 of the deadliest fighters in the sky. The distance is closing with terrifying speed. 400 yards, 300, 200. The German pilot's eyes widen in disbelief. The madman isn't evading, he's challenging them. For the first time since the fight began, Callahan's thumb moves to the gun trigger on his control stick. He is no longer just trying to survive. He is going to show them what this death trap can do.
The 2 Bf-109s are swelling in his canopy, growing from hornets to eagles in the space of a heartbeat. Their wingtips are spitting fire, a converging stream of tracers reaching out for him. To the German pilots, this is suicide, a rookie braking under pressure, freezing at the controls. They hold their fire for a fraction of a second, waiting for him to swerve, to present a fatter target. He doesn't swerve. At the last possible moment, with a closing speed of over 600 miles per hour, Callahan yanks the stick back and kicks the rudder. The P-51A, already on the edge of its performance envelope, responds with a vicious snap roll. He is no longer flying between them. He is corkscrewing through the microscopic gap in their attack. For a dizzying, inverted second, he sees the swastika on a German tail pass just feet below his canopy. He comes out of the roll, disoriented but alive. The maneuver has bled off most of his speed, leaving him hanging in the air, a near-stationary target. But it has also placed him directly behind one of the 109s that just overshot him. The German pilot, shocked by the near collision, is pulling up in a wide, graceful arc to rejoin the fight. He has no idea that the dead man is now perfectly positioned on his 6 o'clock. Callahan's mind is unnaturally calm. The terror has been burned away, leaving only a core of cold, clear focus. Time seems to slow down. He lines up the German fighter in his simple ring-and-bead gun sight. There is no tremor in his hands. He squeezes the trigger. The P-51A shudders as its 450 caliber Browning machine guns come to life. The sound is a deafening roar, a canvas-ripping calico sound that fills the small cockpit. A stream of tracers lances out and slams into the Bf-109's fuselage and right wing root. There's no explosion, just a sudden, ugly puff of black smoke, followed by a thick, greasy trail. The 109 falters, its elegant climb turning into a sickening, uncontrolled slide. It slips onto its wing and begins to spiral down toward the clouds, a wounded bird leaving a black scar across the blue sky. 1 down. 13 to go. A cheer tries to escape Callahan's lips, but he chokes it back. The fight is not over. The psychological impact on the Wolfpack, however, is immediate. Their easy prey has just bitten back, hard. The confident, precise chatter on the German radio frequency turns sharp and agitated. They have lost one of their own to a lone, obsolete fighter flown by a madman. Hauptmann Long sees it all from above. His fury is cold and absolute. The rookie's luck was an insult. He barks new orders. All Falcons, converge, no more games, drown him in fire. The remaining Germans dive on him at once. It's a maelstrom of screaming engines and tracer fire. Callahan throws the P-51A into another series of impossible, frame-stressing maneuvers. He is no longer just reacting, he is anticipating, using the death trap's flaws as a composer uses instruments in a symphony of chaos. He uses the torque from the Allison engine to help snap the plane into a turn. He uses the vibration at high speed as a signal, a physical warning of his plane's limits, which he pushes right to the edge and then pulls back. He has become one with the ghost in the machine. He dives, pulling the pack down to a lower altitude where his Allison engine performs better. The German 109s follow, their high-altitude advantage nullified. The fight descends into a chaotic, turning dogfight, a knife fight in a phone booth. Another 109 pilot, too eager for the kill, gets fixated on Callahan's tail. He doesn't see his wingman, also diving on Callahan from another angle.
Callahan brakes hard at the last second. The two German pilots, with no time to react, are suddenly on a collision course. One tries to pull up, his wings shearing the tail off his comrade's plane. Both aircraft, tangled in a mess of shattered metal, plummet from the sky. Two more gone. A kill without firing a shot. The Germans are rattled now. Their perfect formation is broken, their discipline shattered. They are just a collection of individual pilots, confused and angered by this American who refuses to die. Callahan, sensing the shift, presses his advantage. He gets on the tail of another 109. A short burst from his 50s is all it takes. The pilot bails out, a white flower of silk blossoming against the backdrop of his burning plane. In less than 2 minutes, a lone rookie in a flying coffin has taken down 4 Luftwaffe fighters. Hauptmann Victor Long has seen enough. The honor of his unit, his own honor as an expert, has been shredded. This is no longer a training exercise. This is a personal duel. He pushes his own stick forward, rolling his pristine Bf-109G into a dive. He will handle this himself. He ignores the other American. He ignores the chaos. His world narrows to a single point, the battered, vibrating P-51A. Callahan sees him coming in his rearview mirror. This one is different. The movements are not rushed, not angry. They are calm, lethally precise. The plane is diving with a terrifying speed and purpose. On its nose, he can just make out the yellow paint of a squadron leader. This is the Wolfpack's Alpha, and he is coming for him. The clicking sound of Long's cannon's arming echoes in his mind, a countdown to his own execution.
The yellow-nosed Bf-109G closes the distance with frightening speed. Hauptmann Lang is a surgeon with his aircraft, making tiny, precise adjustments, lining up the perfect shot. He knows the P-51A cannot outrun him, cannot outclimb him, and, he believes, cannot outfly him. Callahan is trapped. A head-on pass is suicide against the 109's nose-mounted 20mm cannon. A dive is futile. A turn is a death sentence. Callahan does the one thing Lang doesn't expect, the one thing his own plane is worst at. He pulls back on the stick and climbs. The Allison engine protests, its power draining away in the thinning air as they ascend back into the high-altitude graveyard. The P-51A speed bleeds off, the controls growing mushy and unresponsive. Lang follows, a smug grin touching his lips. The American is making a fatal error, climbing into Lang's preferred territory. He is climbing to his own execution. Lang waits, patient, letting the American's plane slow to the point of stalling, where it will hang in the air for a moment, a perfect, helpless target. They climb higher and higher, 2 silver specks against the deep indigo of the stratosphere, their engines straining at the edge of their limits. Callahan can feel his plane starting to buffet, the telltale shudder of an impending stall. The nose begins to wander. This is it, the end of the line. Lang's 109 is stable, powerful, ready. He brings his gun sight to bear on the struggling Mustang. Just as the P-51A is about to stall, Callahan performs his final, most desperate act of insanity. He chops his throttle to idle and kicks the right rudder pedal with all his might. The Deathtrap, already unstable and on the verge of losing flight, doesn't just stall, it snaps violently. The nose drops, the left wing flies up, and the entire aircraft enters a brutal, uncontrolled-looking spin. To Lang, it looks as though the American's faulty machine has finally given up the ghost, shaking itself to pieces as he predicted. He eases off, pulling up slightly to watch the kill, to savor the victory. It is a rookie mistake, a moment of hubris from an ace who had never seen anything like this before. But the spin isn't uncontrolled. Callahan is counting the rotations. 1, 2. He fights the punishing G-forces, his vision tunneling to a gray haze. As the plane's nose points directly back down towards the earth, he pushes the stick forward and applies opposite rudder. The spin stops as abruptly as it began. For a breathtaking second, the roles are reversed. Callahan is now diving, looking up at Hauptmann Lang's Bf-109, which is hanging almost motionless at the peak of its climb. He sees its exposed underbelly, the vulnerable radiator, the belly of the beast. The hunter has become the hunted. Callahan opens fire. He doesn't give it a short burst. He holds the trigger down, unleashing everything his 4 remaining .50 calibers have left. The stream of armor-piercing and incendiary rounds walks its way up the length of the 109's fuselage.
He sees chunks of metal tear away from the wings, watches his tracers punch into the engine cowling. A flicker of orange, then a bloom of thick black glycol smoke. The 109's propeller windmills to a stop. For a moment, the Aces plane hangs there, a monument to his own shock, before its nose drops and it begins its final, silent dive. No parachute emerges. The sky is suddenly quiet. The remaining 9 German pilots, their leader gone, their confidence shattered, break off the attack in unison. They turn and flee, scattering like startled birds. Callahan is alone again. But this time, the emptiness is a blessing. The silence in his cockpit is broken only by the whistling wind through the dozens of bullet holes in his fuselage, the coughing sputter of his damaged engine, and his own ragged, desperate breathing. The 3 minutes of insanity are over. The journey back to RAF Boxstead is a long, nerve-wracking fight to keep his battered plane in the air. He crosses the English Channel with his fuel gauge on empty and his engine trailing a thin line of smoke. When he finally sees the runway, he has just enough power for one landing attempt. He brings the P-51A down, the landing gear protesting, the plane skidding and groaning to a halt at the end of the runway. The engines die, and the silence is absolute. Then he sees them. The ground crews, the armorers, and the pilots of the 354th, including Captain Sullivan and Major Bickhill, are standing there, watching him. Their faces are grim. They saw a lone Mustang return, and not just any Mustang, but the squadron's Deathtrap. Callahan pushes back the canopy, the cool English air a balm on his sweat-soaked face. He unstraps himself and slowly, stiffly climbs out of the cockpit. He stands on the wing, looking at the men who had mocked him just hours before. He looks at their stunned, disbelieving faces. He looks at his aircraft, a sieve of torn metal and shattered plexiglass. He looks at the 4 new, crude swastika kill markings the ground crew chief is already chalking onto the fuselage beside the cockpit. No one laughs. No one speaks. The mockery has vanished, replaced by a profound, wordless awe. In the space of a single mission, in just 3 minutes of impossible physics-defying combat, the rookie had not only survived, he had silenced them all. He had taken their flying coffin and turned it into a legend.